Today we celebrate the feast day of the apostles Simon and Jude. Of the 12 apostles, normally Simon and Jude are the ones that we know the least of, perhaps those who receive the least attention. And normally in the gospel, when the list of the apostles appear, Simon and Jude tend to be paired together towards the end of the list of the apostles. What do we know about Simon and Jude? Well, about Simon, we know that he was a zealot. He pursued and desired the political independence of Israel from Rome. We also know that tradition says that he preached in the Far East, and normally when he is depicted in the images of the saints, he is depicted with a saw, because that's how he was martyred, with a saw. What do we know of Jude or Judas? He was the brother of James the Lesser, and he is also known as Thaddeus. Of Judas Thaddeus, he is also considered the patron saint of lost causes, perhaps because he shares the name with Judas Iscariot, who gave into his own desperation, but Judas Thaddeus didn't. A beautiful detail about the gospel that we've read today, Jesus today chooses 12 of his 12 among the great crowd. And the version of this gospel that we've read today is a version of Luke, and Luke includes a very important detail. Luke says that before Jesus made the election of the 12 apostles, he spent the whole night in prayer. The other evangelists don't include this detail, but Luke says before making the decision, he spent the whole night in prayer with God. What do we make of this detail? Well, first of all, the church fathers thought that Jesus spending the night in prayer with God was a little bit like a night of intimacy, and the offspring of that night of intimacy were the 12 apostles. Also, theologians wonder, why is it that Jesus was praying? Some say, well, he was praying for the apostles for whom he was going to choose, because he knew the difficult mission that he had. So he spent the night in intercession for them. Others say, like St. Augustine, he prayed that night to give us example of prayer before big decisions. Others say he prayed the whole night because in choosing these apostles, he wasn't making a human decision based on abilities or talents or competences, but it was really a discernment before God his Father of who was it that the Father had chosen from all eternity. I think we can choose all of these speculations about why is it that Jesus prayed. In any case, I think that the night that Jesus spent with his Father in prayer is a great reminder that we too ought to pray for our bishops. Bishops are the successors of the apostles and the columns of the church, and they have a big responsibility on their shoulders. So in the same way that Jesus prayed the whole night for his apostles, when we celebrate the feast day of Simon and Jude, let us pray too for the bishops, the Bishop of Rome, and especially the Bishop of our own diocese.